Is it okay to be white? Obviously, yes. I never really thought that much about being a white guy until somebody told me I should be ashamed of that fact. And moments like that pushed me to look into things more deeply. And what I found wasn't shame, but instead it was pride. Not arrogance or supremacy. Simply an appreciation for the legacy that I come from. White people have done some amazing things, and I am very proud of what my forefathers have built. And frankly, that shouldn't be a controversial thing for me to say, but still, it upsets a lot of people. Hi folks, I'm Paul, and this is my take. Lately, I have seen more and more young white men say very similar things to what I just said in the intro. That our ancestors built things worth appreciating and respecting and preserving. And yet, for some reason, expressing that simple idea can end up being really inflammatory to a lot of people. I mean, let's be honest. White European civilizations have had a massive impact on the modern world. That's not a claim of superiority, it's just a statement of fact. From the Renaissance to the Industrial Revolution, from modern science to contemporary democratic practices, cultures and nations comprised of white people formed a supermajority of a lot of what we take for granted today. I mean, think about some of the most world-changing inventions. The printing press, Johannes Gutenberg, German, a white guy. The steam engine, James Watt, Scottish, a white guy. Vaccination, Edward Jenner, English, a white guy. Radiology, Wilhelm Röntgen, or however you pronounce his German name, white guy. The automobile, Carl Benz, another German, white guy. Airplane, the Wright brothers, white guys. Does this mean that no other part of the world contributed anything to human advancement? Of course not. China gave the world gunpowder and the compass. Mesopotamians and Egyptians gave us glass. History is very broad and complex, but Western contributions, nearly all of them by white people, are foundational to the world we live in today. White people, Western people, by and large, built the modern world. But when I say that, certain people have an intense urge to push back on that and point out and condemn only the wrongdoings of white people. As I went through the education system, the message I got wasn't to be proud of anything that your ancestors did, but rather to be ashamed of it. There was a real emphasis on feeling guilt for the history of white people. The majority of time whenever white people were discussed as a collective was in the context of colonization, slavery, or some form of oppression. As if that's the whole story, and as if no other ethnic group has ever committed atrocities of their own. The way we're taught in schools, many people actually believe that white people are the only people who are responsible for terrible things like slavery or genocide. And that's incredibly dishonest. And unfortunately, it has created a lot of unjustifiable resentment towards white people, and in turn, a lot of justifiable resentment towards the people who have been spreading this kind of dishonest representation. I remember a moment in college where there was this nationwide controversy that broke out about flyers that were discovered on this campus that simply said, "It's okay to be white." That's all they said. And yet, the reaction to this, the response to it was insane. People called it hateful and disgusting. Administrators threatened disciplinary action. And I just sat there thinking, why? That statement isn't hostile. It's not exclusionary. It's not even celebratory. It's a basic affirmation. If a flyer had said, "It's okay to be black," or "It's okay to be Asian," nobody would blink. And nor should they. I and a lot of other young white men walked away from this incident with the understanding that the system that we were operating in was actively hostile against white people simply existing. And I don't think that that was an incorrect conclusion to draw. Look how hiring is done, or admissions at higher education. Numerous cases have displayed that it is a clear disadvantage to be white in these scenarios. There was even a Supreme Court case about this not that long ago. And then there was this post I saw on X recently from the Department of Homeland Security with the quote, "Remember your homeland and your heritage." And it was accompanied by this image of this painting of two white pioneers holding a newborn baby. That was it. Just a piece of historical art and a quote memorializing the people who came before us. But the reaction to it, people were screaming that it was reminiscent of Nazi propaganda and white supremacy imagery, simply for depicting white people existing in history. It further made me recognize that for a lot of people, even the neutral presence of white identity existing is unacceptable. I even had to make a post in reaction to the reaction of these posts. If you see an image of a happy white family and your immediate response is to say, "This is disgusting," no. I don't even care if this was used as Nazi propaganda. It's an entirely neutral depiction. These same people have been calling a commercial for jeans Nazi propaganda, when the aesthetics of beauty, tradition, nature, and order are labeled as Nazi propaganda. You have destroyed all meaning associated with that term. This is an entirely neutral depiction of white people simply existing. And if the same kind of neutral depiction existed for black people or Asian people or Latino people or any other group besides white people, and it got this kind of reaction, we would have a big problem. People would be very upset about that. And I have a problem with that reaction, and honestly, you should too. And this double standard runs so deep. A few years ago, a group of black families banded together and they bought some land in rural Georgia with the express intent of building a community explicitly for black people. And the media praised them for it. And I agree. I think that's awesome. People should be free to build the communities with and for people who share their same beliefs and values. And yes, heritage. But then another story came out just this week about this initiative called the Return to the Land, where white people in Arkansas are doing something very similar to what the people in Georgia were doing. But the reaction to this has been outrage, condemnation, even a government investigation. The plans are practically identical. The only major difference is the race of the people who intend on building these communities. If it's empowerment for one group, why do you say it's dangerous for another? And look, I'm not even saying that every single person who's involved in doing these kinds of things has good or bad intentions. If a group of Orthodox Jews wanted to create a community in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, nobody would really have a problem with that. If Latinos cluster together in parts of LA, that's celebrated. But if white people express similar desires to do similar things, they are treated like pariahs. Like the very thought of whites doing something like that is just out of the question. And it doesn't make sense. They call these people horrible racists. These are some of the worst people in the world that are building their own community. They hate them for being racist, but at the same time, they insist that they come back and live amongst them. What's that about? So far, every example I have given has been limited to the United States. But this double standard is happening across Europe as well, and honestly, it's probably even worse over there. In England, Germany, and Sweden, there are numerous cases of absolutely heinous sex crimes that are being committed by immigrant gangs against native white women and girls. And these incidents have been downplayed or ignored out of fear of being called racist. In many cases, victims have been left without justice because the authorities didn't want to appear intolerant. That's not equity or equality under the law. That's gross negligence. It's unacceptable. And the patience of the native populations of Europe is starting to wear thin. There are even politicians, like a Pakistani member of parliament in Scotland, who publicly complained that there were too many white people in positions of power in white European Scotland.
99% of the meetings I go to, I'm the only non-white person in the room. But why are we so surprised when the most senior positions in Scotland are filled almost exclusively by those who are white? Take my portfolio alone. The Lord President, white. The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy Chief Constable, white. Every Assistant Chief Constable, white. The head of the Law Society, white. The head of the Faculty of Advocates, white. Every prison governor, white.
Just out of curiosity, let's see what the ethnic makeup of the politicians in Pakistan are like. Let's see what that's like. Looks homogenous. And you know what? Honestly, good for them. I will wager that they don't have anyone in their government who's complaining that there are not enough people who look like them. And yet, despite all the hostility, Western nations remain some of the most open and generous places in the entire world. People are not fleeing the West, they are flocking to it. That alone should tell you something. That alone should tell you that they are not the ruthless genociders that everybody makes them out to be. If white people were truly ruthless genociders, you wouldn't be risking everything to come and live among them. So no, I don't feel guilty about being white. I don't feel ashamed. I love who I am. I love the legacy I come from. And that doesn't mean that I hate anyone else. I'm not looking to tear others down. I'm looking to build up that which has been unfairly torn down. And if my being pro-white instantly makes you assume that I'm anti anyone else, well, that says a lot more about you than it does about me. White people, like all people, deserve a future. We deserve to be part of the conversation. We deserve a homeland and the same dignity and cultural affirmations that is given to every other group. And I won't apologize for saying that. It shouldn't be a controversial thing for me to say that. It's okay to be white. It really is. In fact, I think it's great. Whatever ethnicity you are, you should feel great about that too. You should be happy you are the way God intended you to be. And because God created me to be white, I'm great with that. Anyway, that's all I've got for today, but what do you think? Have you seen this double standard as well? How do you think we should treat people involved with things like Return to the Land or the Freedom Georgia project? And should they both receive the same kinds of criticism or praise? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoy my content and want to see more, I would really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and I will see y'all next time.